if, especially for those of you who work for like brick and mortar kind of companies, you know, nobody's coming in. I heard somebody say they have a restaurant, they fired 30 people, it's a ghost town. But again, the Leaferato guy is almost running over children because he's so backed up. And that would be the second one is if you have something physical or something deliverable, is go to your customers. Don't wait for them to come to you. And so this requires kind of like working with your clients in a little bit of a different way. So I'm going to give you a couple examples of clients that we're working with, just to give you guys an idea of like, to wrap your head around some of the stuff that's working. So one of my clients is, her name's Amelia. They got a law firm in Michigan, brick and mortar, and they converted the entire brick and mortar over to basically Zoom based, like we're doing right now, so many of us. And they're basically the only, as far as I know anyway, for what they do, the only law firm open in the state right now. Like everybody else is closing down and doesn't really have a business. So by helping your clients to convert what they do to digital or virtual is so powerful. And most of you guys, this is how you run your agencies anyway. So you're already the experts on this. You already know how to do all this, but many of our clients don't know how to take their thing and make it virtual. So give you another example. I mentioned another brick and mortar. Guy came to me, said, my agency's for restaurants. They pretty much all fired me. And I said, well, this is really the time that you really have to go to your customers, gift certificates, takeouts, recurring offers, delivery. If you don't have drivers, piggyback on Uber Eats, Grubhub, delivery 24/7. Like, people need to know you can bring your product or your service to them if you're in the physical kind of goods space. And then to give you guys another example, this one I thought is really, really awesome. One of my clients is a TEDx speaker. Her name's Maya. Really, really cool story. And when you're a speaker, it's kind of doubly awful because one is you get, somebody pays you $5,000 or $10,000 to speak and to headline an audience, but then you sometimes don't get booked for like 4 months. So you never quite know like how much money you're going to make from month to month. And then on top of that, everybody's been closing events in the last month. And so for her, you know, it was quite the conundrum. But what we started doing is a couple of weekends or a couple of months ago, we started putting on little virtual weekend workshops. And this was designed so she could just pay herself to speak whenever she wanted. So she didn't have to wait for somebody else to come in. And it's really, really amazing. She's still doing the same thing she always does. It's the same speech, it's the same content. But they, again, like our clients don't necessarily know how to take what they do and turn it into a digital thing so they can actually bring people in. And I think, like I said, we're in such an amazing space because this is how most of us in this group live every day. Like, Isaac, you've got kids running around, so do I. You know, I have to like sometimes make a client call with Sesame Street running in the background. Like, that's literally the only way to do it. And for most of our clients, this is really uncharted territory. But the key with making this whole thing, these kind of what I call virus-friendly offers, is to look for the gaps in the market that make you the only choice. So I mentioned at the beginning, like my girlfriend, I'm bragging a little bit and being a little braggadocious, but for her thing in home birth, what she noticed is all of a sudden there's just an influx of people who don't want to be in the hospital. And for most of them, that's a problem, but everybody else's problems are all of our opportunities. And so for all of us, there's just so much problems that got dumped into the market all at once that us helping remove those constraints, which for so many people is just taking what they do and turning it virtual, you can actually help your clients win. Does this mean you're going to conquer the economy? Not necessarily, but for some of you guys, it may just be a matter of like staying afloat and staying alive in a market that's a little bit crazy, because who knows how long this will actually last. So I hope that makes sense, what I've laid out so far, Isaac.
No, I think that makes perfect sense. And I really like that idea of trying to be nimble and shifting the focus to essentially what value can you add your clients now that's non-traditional based on the services that you've been offering them, you know, up until now, right? Like that's really what we're talking about. And what, like, how would somebody, in your opinion, begin that conversation with their client? What would that look like for you in a couple different examples? Maybe a couple different examples of like how that would look like for specific industries or different specific use cases.
Yeah, maybe we can have a little bit of Q&A at the end and people can chime in with their specific industry, because there's a couple of other techniques. Like some of them are a little trickier than others right now. Like, to be honest, I don't know what I would do if I had a hotel right now. Like, that's just being really, really honest with you. If yours really requires people to come stay there, I don't necessarily have all the answers for these things, but most of what people do will fall into one of these three things. So is it cool actually if I jump on to the next one and we come back to that after, because I think some of that will get answered just with where we're kind of going.
Absolutely.
So another one, this is really, really important, because this is the second thing, is really marketing to your buyers and helping your clients market to their buyers. Because like I said, most people actually, when they come to us, what they think they need is new, more. And usually they always have conversion and retention problems mixed in there. Like, I'm sure if you've ran ads for people long enough, there's been somebody who's really bad at answering the phone. And if you do it for local businesses, sometimes even comically bad, and helping them get over those humps. So I heard a few things. I just wanted to read a couple examples that I thought would help with this. Somebody said, my affiliate site traffic is way up, but my sales aren't there. So and that's happening to a lot of us right now, because the number of people sitting home reading online websites is like quadrupled in the last couple of weeks. A few people even said they gained clients. And then there's specific niches that are actually just gone crazy in the positive direction, like the make money online kind of niches, and the health related niches are going way, way up right now. Right. So I think for those of you guys who are affiliates, being nimble is really easy. Just get into the right niches for right now. Do the work from home, do the make money online, do the health niches, go where the flow is right now, and just adapt a little bit, because you're not necessarily married to any type of business. If you're an affiliate, it's probably pretty easy for you to be nimble. Now, for the rest of us that are looking to do something that's probably more like, a 10-year journey, a 20-year journey, I think it's really, really important that this number comes up more than anything else. And that is the most important number in any business, and most people have no idea, is actually the number of people you retain after the first buy. And most businesses, we do a great deal to help them make that first buy, but they really actually generally do a really piss poor job after that. And not like in often just because they're too busy or they don't even know it's important. But just like to give you an example, just so you can wrap your head around this, because I always find like restaurants an easy way to wrap your head around it. If we help a restaurant get a new customer and they come there once, that's valuable. But if we help them get a customer and then have that customer come back once a week, that's 52 times more valuable than getting a single new person to come once. And so most businesses have this kind of like multiplier principle. To give you guys an illustration of this, I had a client in South Carolina who's a lawyer, and we were running a digital advertising campaign for him, and I hadn't cracked it. I was working on something for lawyers, and it was kind of a personal injury lawyer. It's a little bit tricky, and we were actually running Facebook ads for him, and we were losing his money. And I had a little in-person boot camp in Atlanta with like 15 people, and I was slated to meet him, and I was dreading it because I was like, oh my God, I can't get this guy's ads to work. He's going to tell everybody how much I suck and I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like imposter syndrome to the max. And when I met him, he walked up to me, and he's a really big dude, and he walked up and just gave me this giant hug, and he looked at me all excitedly, and he was like, did you know we made $100,000 from what you did? And I was like, what? Please, like, say that again. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, yeah, you sent out a couple of those referral emails, and I got 3 really big cases out of it. We're going to make $100,000. That was awesome.
Wow.
And I hadn't really thought about it, but what we had did was we had sent out a referral campaign to his past customers. And often, especially if you guys deal with brick and mortar, but even so in the online space, is often once they've sold their one thing, they don't know where to go. And so we just wrote a little email series campaign, and it said it was the least brilliant marketing I've ever made in my life. It said something like, hey, if you have any questions, we got this free number for you to answer your questions. And then they called and say, what do I do about this? Or what do I do about that? And that was immensely more valuable. And we're actually you know, we run our agency a lot differently now, but we focus a lot more on these kind of back end deals because they're easier to do, they're faster, they're more immediate, and you get a chance to help people. So with the clients that you guys have, some of these guys are sitting on sometimes 20, 30 years of customers that they've never once marketed to, that would be happy to come back if they just made them another offer. And so there's all kinds of things you can do, retargeting those people, just sending them a few emails if you have to, send a letter in the mail. And obviously, again, this ties into having something that's what I call virus friendly, which is just working with the constraints of the market right now.
Yeah.
And so if you guys, if you help them sell something that's recurring, that's even better. If you help them sell something that's more expensive to their back end customers, like, you know, say for example, if you have a dentist and they're still open right now, you may not be able to make him $1 million, but if you bring him 2 rich people that, you know, get $40,000 worth of crowns, that's going to be enough to hold him over for 2 months of this craziness. So there's a lot you can do to really move the needle, but that's the biggest thing, is just knowing that that's the leverage point in pretty much all of these businesses, is eventually, and even the ones who really, you know, have this focus, they eventually just run out of ideas and things to really benefit their customers. And so there's a chance for you to walk in, and I call these little revenue share deals, because instead of saying, you know, pay me $2,500 a month and get the ad budget, and then I'll bring you some business, it's very easy to say, hey, I got this campaign, I'm going to send it out. I'm pretty sure it'll bring you a couple of people, and you don't have to make a giant promise. And I'd be happy to split the back end profits with you. Would you be open to that? What you'll find is most of your clients that you have right now will say yes. And it's an easy chance for you to get more value out of the clients that are still left and still operating and still working. And what you'll find is it's really helpful to them, and it's a very easy yes, because, you know, they don't really know what to do in this. This is uncharted territory for all of us. This isn't just uncharted territory for Isaac and Frankie. This is really all of us are seeing something kind of crazy. But knowing that is like the key leverage point that most businesses need more than anything else, and struggle with it. Because what I learned from running my agency, and it took me years to figure this out, is generating somebody $100,000 worth of back-end business is infinitely easier than actually generating them $100,000 worth of new business, because those people already like, know, and trust them. They've already had a good experience with them. They already know they can deliver on their promises. And so there's way less convincing. Like I said, our email campaign just said, hey, you got any questions, call this number, right? Like, I'm sure most of you guys could come up with something better than that. I didn't even really think much of it at the time, but that was really a door opening for me. And in 2008, I actually remember a friend of mine, he had a client who was an electrician, and he just told him, just call all your past clients back and just say, hey, do you got any small jobs that you need any help with? And he didn't make $1 gazillion, but he kept his business afloat through like a very real recession. So amazing. Some of your clients, you had something to add?
No, I was gonna. Yeah, I think those are some amazing, really like practical, valuable tips. And I would call that like revenue extraction. Like you're a lot of times we're focused with our clients on getting new customers, making that ad spend ROAS positive, ROI positive every day, every week, every quarter, every month. But sometimes it's like, let's take a step back. You have a lot of customers. Can we sell them more things? Can we extract revenue from the existing business? And that could be a really great way to retain clients. We have some examples of just this past week where like there was no, like for example, the International Culinary Center, which is a very large cooking school. It's a culinary institute in New York City. They had to shut down the school, right? And they're spending a lot of money on advertising through us, and they had to pull their budget entirely. So we reached out to our contacts and the president of the school this morning, and we said, like, listen, let's take the next few weeks to work on conversion rate optimization, creating new content for the website, restructuring the navigation, running some usability tests. Like, there's not really much revenue extraction opportunity. We cannot sell these students anything outside of a class that they cannot attend. So there's opportunities also to take a look at a client's business more holistically and shift into consulting mode. Whether it's working on their website, whether it's creating new landing pages, whether it's helping them create new content. And this is also the time not to worry about what your job is, what your job isn't, what you were hired to do, what you weren't hired to do. Like, this is not the time to think about those things. It's like, what can you do? Can you go out and spend 3 hours for your client on Upwork, finding them copywriters? Can you go and help them run an event, or help them set up an event, or if they're, you know, working on a print campaign, could you help them with some of the graphic design? Like whatever it may be, it doesn't really matter. For a bunch of our clients, we had a new client that really, they just signed with us 2 weeks ago. They're a large real estate company in India. They're one of the largest real estate conglomerates in India, actually. And they pulled all their advertising, like totally unexpectedly. Everyone's staying home. Like India's been hit really hard. They pulled all their advertising. So what we're doing is we're going to start working for the next couple of weeks on doing like a really thorough analytical history of their accounts. Like they have multiple different Google Ads accounts and other display campaigns or marketing campaigns that we're running. And while we've been spending some time on looking at the historic data, but we've been spending most of our time on launching new campaigns and assessing daily lead volume and CPA. And now we're going to shift focus and be like, okay, it will be valuable for us to do like a really full, thorough demographic analysis of all the historic campaigns, who your customers are, really building the buyer personas, drafting up new strategies, still communicating with you, still having our regular calls, but the tone has shifted, the actual work has shifted. This type of thing won't work for a lot of companies, because if you have your smaller business, the dentist or the local florist or whatever it may be, like they're like, we just need to have campaigns running and leads coming in. Like we can't go a month just doing conversion rate optimization or something like that. But a lot of clients can, and a lot of clients won't have that idea themselves. Like you need to be proactive. Like that's another important thing. You could let it all happen to you, and to some extent, there's no stopping it. Like this is an absolute steam train. But you might find some pockets of opportunity. Every dollar you could save, every $1,000, every $100 you could save is worth saving. So you need to be proactive. Like you need to pick up the phone, call your client. First of all, just to ask them how they're doing, right? Like if you're not thinking about picking up the phone to call your client and ask them how they're doing, you're not thinking straight, or you're not taking your job seriously enough, or this whole thing seriously enough. But you could also pick up the phone and tell your client, listen, here's A, B, and C ideas that I think will be very valuable. Here's why they'll be valuable in 3 weeks from now. We're willing to do it. I'm willing to do it. We'll get our team to do it. We'll figure out how to do it. Like, yeah, you didn't hire us to do this. This is not really what I'm the best at, but I'm a resource available to you through this process. And I think that that's a really, really important thing.
Amen. I want to give you like a Braveheart cheer for that. Yeah, I mean, everything you just said, I mean, it's the resourcefulness in times like these is really, really key. And a lot of times we think about sometimes we forget that the things we do that are very ordinary to us are not. So like, to give you an example, my law firm client that converted themselves over to be entirely digital is they've been trying to set up like autoresponder campaigns forever and make their whole office run remote. And when it actually came to it, you know, for them, it's like a tech nightmare. They're like, I don't know what autoresponder software to buy, or how to input emails, or how to build a template. And I know personally, like that's 10 minutes worth of work if you familiar with the software and you don't have to figure it out brand new, but you can be an immensely valuable resource to them in ways that aren't like a giant burden to you either. Just with all the things we have to deal with, like you mentioned, Isaac, like, clients are now looking for people on Upwork. I never experienced that before, where brick and mortars are saying, do you know how to hire somebody on Upwork? And I'm like, you know, we got a whole team of people Upwork that I've vetted for the last 10 years. Who do you need? And, you know, and there's so many opportunities like that. So definitely, if it's cool with you, can we go on a little more and share the last thing I think will really help you guys?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So far, I think it's great. I mean, this has been a little bit of a choppy through the Facebook Live. Like while you were talking in the original segment, I had to restart the feed, but we have like hundreds of people watching.
Sweet. Well, what's up, everybody?
So, and then I'm recording this, so I'll probably upload a full recording of it anyway, so it's all in one piece, but it all exists on the Facebook thread in multiple, I guess, sections right now, chapters, but we're live now, and we have a lot of people tuning in. So yeah, continue.
Cool. So, you know, just to give you an idea, like somebody told me they got a restaurant, there's 30 people getting laid off, but heaven forbid they don't cancel their monthly ad spend. Some people just asking, what do you do? Do you offer discounts? Do you slash prices? I would say generally no, but getting more creative with their payment plans is usually a good idea. And then, you know, for those of us who just mentioned, like, our clients are feeling it, it's hard not to be worried. I would say it's really, really important in times like these to realize that with the right offers, like, other people's resources can be yours as well. And so my, like, really third suggestion, which is really, really powerful, is find collaborations in the face of this, like joint ventures. There's so many opportunities. And the reason is because, like, we don't want our clients to have to face this alone. And in most normal economic situations, businesses see their competitors as competitors, especially like brick and mortar. They can name all their competitors to you. And the thing about it is they don't actually have to. And I actually had this idea come to me. I'm almost ashamed to admit this, but it's true. I was sitting around on YouTube, just going on a YouTube binge, watching cooking shows. I was watching some diners, drive-ins, and dives from like 10 years ago. And one of the restaurants featured in it was in California, and this was like 6 months ago. Well, there was forest fires raging around them. So, like, just imagine the climate for having a restaurant while there's literally forest fires going on around you. It's probably not what one would call an ideal market to be in business. And while this was happening, this guy started delivering his food to the firefighters, and then all the volunteers were like, hey, can you bring us food? And before he knew it, he had like a full-fledged delivery business where he was thriving in the middle of forest fires. And in these really, really, really kind of challenging economic times, like I said, it sure looks like we're headed for a recession. These partnerships are sometimes the best ways to really move the needle really quickly, depending on the type of business you have. So to give you an idea of just like some real examples, every year in my hometown, there's a little festival called Art in the Park. And it's just like a stupid little, like, every artist comes, they all got a little stand, they sell their thing, they put on some music, there's some, you know, food and drinks, and everybody walks around, and, you know, some of it's cool, some of it's kind of stupid, but it's a good way to kill a couple of days. And it's really interesting because I'm always interested in the business side of things, and I've asked the artists how they do. And almost always, I've always heard the same thing, which is, well, we do more business in these 3 days than the rest of the year. And I found that, like, just completely fascinating, because for 362 days a year, they see themselves as competitors. They say, well, I sell art, you sell art, this world's not big enough for the both of us. And 3 days a year, they say, hey, let's all put on a big show together, something that's bigger than all of us, and we'll all benefit. And they do more business than they can handle for the, you know, the rest of the year. So it's like a really, really crucial time. And especially in these times, your competitors or are all potential collaborators. And especially in the niches I mentioned, like the work from home and the health, there are always ways to collaborate in those industries, the ones that are actually doing the opposite of what everybody else is doing right now. So for me personally, like in the last couple of weeks, I've spoken at 3 online summits. So like all the conferences that have been canceled, many of them are just moving online. And I did one in health, I did one in spirituality, and these are not normally my niche, right? So like but I had to get a little bit creative to figure out how I could fit my kind of content and my theme into what they were doing. And before you know it, you get to speak in front of all these things. So right now there's somebody who's having the opposite problem you are, who, if you're getting creative, if you start looking at it, like if you're asking yourself, how can I strategically partner with them and make them better off and add some value to them and add value to their people, you're more than likely going to be able to further your own goals at the same time. And so you got to really, really think this win-win about creating something that's bigger and better for everybody. But those collaborations, what would normally be competitors, are 1,000 times more open to it. Like I have a mentor, and in 2008, he was a lot more ready than I was. And he went to radio stations, and he had just this 30-minute infomercial and an affiliate offer that was selling. And at that time, the radio stations couldn't get anybody to pay them money for advertising. They had 60, 70% of their slots unsold. And so he went to them and said, hey, I got this little infomercial. If you guys are willing to run it for half an hour, we'll sell some of this affiliate product. I'll track it, pay you for it. I don't get paid for 30 days. I'll pay you at the end of that 30 days and we can split the profits. Would you be open to that? And people were like, hell yeah, I'm open to that. Now in a normal economic situation where those radio stations can sell their advertising and don't really need any flexibility and don't really need any cash and don't really need that, they probably would tell you to go F off. But in this kind of situation, you'd be amazed at how easy it is for, you know, people, if you can add value to what they're doing, to say yes. So I wanted to kind of do a quick recap of what I'm calling Coronanomics, because I think that's what we're really looking at is really you got to make your offer really, really unique and stand out. You know, like I mentioned, the delivery guy or the speaker who has the weekend conferences, or my girlfriend Ilka, who's the only person who's offering like home birth solutions. If you can really make your offer unique, where you actually solve a real legitimate need in the market, and you're the only one who can fulfill that in that space by, just like you mentioned, Isaac, being nimble and adapting, you're going to experience the opposite of what everybody else has experienced. Like for us, like we actually just posted a couple of offers, my girlfriend and I, and we have so many messages to reply to in the middle of 2 children. It's like, you know, I need a full-time assistant just to manage the inquiries. And so, you know, for some of you guys, it may not be like having the greatest financial time in your life. It may just be staying afloat, but like these are really, really important times to have those things that are kind of virus friendly. And the 2 big things that I'm seeing that are working right now, like I mentioned, being virtual, or taking something you wouldn't normally bring to a customer and bringing it to them, not waiting for them to come to you. Second thing I mentioned, by the way, is marketing to the customers they already have, that most often, not out of any bad reason, but most times they've been neglecting that, and the chance for those revenue share deals are right there, and they're actually a lot easier and they're a lot quicker to give them little wins, especially right now when they need little wins. By the way, I appreciate that, the whole having to silence a child. Yeah. No idea how much I relate to that. For those of you guys who are parents, you totally get this right now. And then lastly, like, collaborate with what's winning in the world right now. Find a way to align with the things. Like I mentioned, not every niche is hurting in the same way. Like the funeral parlors, rain or shine, they're still doing business, right? And I mentioned the health and the work from home, and as well, even the clients you have, there's ways to adapt and make them nimble. So I don't necessarily have all the answers. I mean, like I said, this is uncharted territory for all of us, but these are the things I'm seeing that are working and that can give you guys a chance to hopefully stay afloat and even thrive in this kind of crazy economy. So I think maybe if you're cool with it, maybe we can, you know, field some questions right now. I got to grab a drink of water, but let's do it.
Yeah, sure. And while Frankie's going to get a drink of water, I think that my expectation is that this whole experience is going to normalize sooner rather than later. There's just only so much time the American public is going to be okay, or they're going to stand for being out of work. The government sending you $1,000 a month is just not going to cut it. People need to get back to their jobs. And to some extent, the virus is going to run its course, and as dangerous and as deathly as that is. I actually read an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal on Saturday that tracked the stock market through all the previous pandemics, and they highlighted. They started from the Spanish flu in 1918, which killed 700,000 American people, but economically things were relatively flat, and that was because it was really just business as usual. Like people went to work and people died, and not that was a good thing, but to whatever extent you shut down the economy for the sake of preserving life, you're going to proportionately destroy people's lives economically, which is what we've been seeing over the last week. 3 million people losing their jobs. It's just absolutely out of control. It's unprecedented. We're all living through what is absolutely one of the most historic, if not the most historic, event of our lifetimes. Which is just wild. Like I live, I'm in Manhattan all the time. I live 30 minutes from the city, and the city's a ghost town. Like every building in the city is basically empty. It's just crazy. But like you said, Frankie, this whole idea of extracting revenue, shifting focus. How can you help your clients win business and increase their revenue, or at least decrease or minimize the impact of a drop in revenue as much as possible through creative ideas, through being proactive, is really, really powerful advice. We have one question here, and I know you touched upon this, but what advice would you have for hotels? Michaela Sikorava asked that question. I don't know if you have any, I don't know,
Yeah, to be honest,
other than shorting their stock, I don't know what advice you would have for a hotel.
yeah, to be honest, that's the one I've thought the most about because it really is the trickiest. Sometimes those hotels actually generate a good deal of revenue from events like conferences and things like that.
Show you?
And that's not every hotel, but if they do, I would help them turn those events online. Outside of that, to be honest, that's probably the trickiest example. And I haven't thought of that. I haven't figured out a real solution for that, but when I find one, I'll have to share it through.
Yeah, or like even depends on the hotel, obviously. If it's like if you were a client to a smaller hotel chain or, you know, potentially deferring your fees or reducing your fees for the time being. Like, and also it's a little tricky. Like if you're charging a percentage of spend, how do you restructure the fees for the coming months? But even if you have to, you know, even if you're not going to get paid in full or at all from a client for a month, that's okay. Your eye should be on the long-term retention of that client.
Yeah.
And there's one other element, like psychologically, an event like this will have the tendency to act as a psychological reset button. So even if your relationships with your clients were strong, a lot of companies are going to be looking for new agencies after this because it's like a reset. And you have to be very brutally honest about that reality. And I know this, I sent an email to my entire team yesterday saying, like, listen, we're going to lose even good clients because regrettably, there's just a very strong natural human tendency to rebuild. And part of rebuilding is new things, new people, new vendors, etc. Now, hopefully the vast majority of your clients will continue to be your clients, even the ones that you lose during this period will come back, but you'll lose some. But that also means that there are other brands that are leaving their agencies and you'll have the opportunity to win new business. So I think that we're going to enter into a period I'm very optimistic that we're going to be going into a period over the coming months where there's a lot of new business opportunities to be had.
Oh yeah.
From clients leaving their agencies, looking for new opportunities. I think that's a huge, huge thing, opportunity not to be missed. But just going back to that hotel example, like maybe you could help them. Let's say they're basically empty, right? So maybe they're going to redesign their rooms. Go help them pick out new linens. Help them pick out new wallpaper. What the hell? Offer it, right? Like be there for them. Be there for them in the capacity that they need you to be there for them in, not the capacity that you think you want to be there. Be there for them in. So if it's helping them shop online for new bed sets, if it's helping them find new toiletries, if it's helping them restructure their listing pages on their website, if it's helping them with designing a calendar for the year of sales and promotions, if it's helping them implement a new HR system, whatever it is, just like be creative, use your head, go out of your comfort zone and just communicate to the client that you're a set of hands and a pair of eyes and a brain that they could use for whatever they need.
Totally.
Good stuff. I think it's very, very timely and uplifting. On one hand, to realize that we're all sort of going through this together, it's true. I think like you see it's so true. Like I've been like looking online here and there, like these. I'm trying to not get so much news because it's just all like depressing. It's all the same. But like you see these celebrities, like I saw something from Madonna. I saw something from Gal Gadot. Like they're so out of touch because like at the end of the day, while sure everyone's entitled to feel upset and stressed out, and no matter how much money or fame you have, like you still feel very stressed out and alone and but like it's just so not relatable when they get up and like sitting in their bathtub full of roses or in their $1 million penthouse, like how they're how we're all in this together. Like the American public, that we don't feel like we're in this together with you necessarily. But I think in smaller communities where there really is a more even, equal economic experience, like this Facebook group, like you and me, like just talking this out as regular people, I think it is uplifting to share these common experiences. I really do. So I think that was I think that's like a very important element of what we accomplished here today. Just a general sense of we're all in this together. We're all experiencing, we're all hurting, and like no one's really exempt from it. At least in our little circle here, this little corner of the world. But also, I think there's also just some very practical techniques. Like it's not a time to just like lay back and get run over. Like don't be a wimp. It's difficult. Get on the phone, think about ways, take out a pen and paper, make a list of your clients, take inventory, take stock, and just work it. Call your clients, send them emails, push yourself in a helpful way. No one's going to do it for you. No one's thinking about you, right? Everyone's thinking about themselves right now. So you as a service provider, because that's really what you are, you provide service to other people, be a service provider, more so now than you ever have been before. And those people who like take that seriously and are willing to be proactive and put in the energy and the effort to put aside their own concerns and your own issues and your own stress and be there for the people paying you for a service, those are the agencies and the freelancers and the individuals that are going to succeed exponentially moving past this.
Amen, brother. And in some ways, even bigger so. And I don't mean to be that person who kind of capitalizes off of chaos, but those who serve the deepest in this are actually and do it very, you know, creative and strategically are going to come out way ahead. As I mentioned, every time there's a recession, which it sure looks like we have, you know, like I said, more millionaires are created in that time than any other time. And that's not a coincidence. So why not you, right? Like if you're one of those people, why not help your clients, you know, be the ones who win in this, and yourself and your family. And yes, it's stressful, but you know, there's something really beautiful. I think, you know, part of like my underlying reason why for doing all this is entrepreneurs are the ones who really change the world. Like most people like sit on their ass and wish for things to be different, or they wait for a politician or a government, but we're actually like the ones who go out in the world and identify problems and go do something about it. And so every single person that you help and every single client you help and every little difference that you make in somebody's lives like has this giant trickle down effect. Because, you know, I was actually talking to somebody who said this is really interesting because in the early 1900s, there was no such thing as a job. That was like actually like an unheard of thing. Everybody was just their own little solopreneur that had to kind of hustle and sell their little service. This is actually like a relatively new invention of society. And, you know, most of those people don't necessarily know what to do, but the people who are the entrepreneurs who are like actually going out there and the business owners who are like bringing value to other people, they're the ones like really making a difference. And those are the ones who need help more than anybody else in the world. And we're the ones who know how to help them. Because what they typically lack more than anything else is knowing how to strategically tell the world what they do, knowing how to create offers about what they do, knowing how to do that technically or build a website or a landing page or whatever is required. And they're usually so busy in their thing. So it's like I said, this is also unprecedented opportunity for us to really be useful and serve in a way that's, like you said, even if your client doesn't pay you for a month, it's more important the long-term relationship of that than it is to meet your immediate cash flow needs. And if you take that attitude, what you'll find is that actually your cash flow needs are more than met because you're serving those needs so deeply. And here's the thing is, well, the world's gone crazy. Those needs and those opportunities are like 1,000x what they were even 2 weeks ago. Like, for example, one of the things we do in our agency is we reach out to people and make these back end offers like, hey, if you have a list of people, I got the campaign that'll work, I'd be happy to send it out for you as a revenue share. Would you be interested? And we certainly get people to say yes to that because it's a pretty strong offer. But there's people who basically like told me no a couple of weeks ago who are now reaching back out to me and saying, hey, you know that thing you mentioned before? Do you think we could still do that? And so people are also more open to the things you can offer your clients and help them with than like ever before. And that's actually, in a way, it's a blessing in disguise, because uncharted territory means they're looking for you to step up. So I know that's probably a little bit of Tony Robbins kind of rah-rah, but I think it's really true.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Frankie, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I'm sure the entire group appreciates it. This was really helpful, uplifting for me too, and it's awesome that you were willing to come on and do this.
I appreciate it, brother, and thank you guys just for being awesome and being the ones who care enough to be thinking about your clients when everybody else is like trying to steal all the toilet paper. So you guys are the ones who are thinking about other people, and then there's a really selfless, beautiful thing about that.
Awesome. All right, man. Listen, stay safe, stay healthy. Obviously, that's the most important thing. Enjoy your time with the kids. I'm trying to enjoy the time with my kids as well. 5 minutes a day maximum. But I'm just kidding. But awesome, really great stuff. Everyone be well. Everyone take care. Be proactive. That's the most thing. Be proactive.
Thank you guys.
Alrighty.